If you're interested in supporting this work, you can support me on Patreon, and that will help me make more videos and more podcasts for you in the future. Click the link down below on Patreon, or I'll put the link up here in the corner to Patreon, so you can go there and become a Patreon supporter.
Get mantra and meditation MP3s at jasongallant.ca.
A common question that hamstrings many spiritual aspirants' development is the question, what's my purpose? They tie in their spiritual path with their occupation, and then they throw in a little bit of philanthropy in there. It's kind of like a stew, and they stew it all together, and then they say, okay, if I chant this mantra or do this meditation, then my life's purpose will reveal itself to me, and then I will march forth and share it with the world. But really, the spiritual path is not about life's purpose. It's about realizing purpose only comes from the ego. The ego is what wants purpose. The ego is like an abusive parent that beats a child because it hasn't become a lawyer or doctor yet, even though the child's only 3 years old. That's really the ego in its negative form. When the ego is in its negative form, it says you should be something other than what you are. And what you are is not enough. And it tells you a very convincing story of purpose and says, you should have purpose in order to be of value. But this is a very fancy story to keep you from realizing that you have a belief system that this and everything you are is not of value. It is discardable unless it does something of value. And I don't know where the measuring stick is on this, and because depending on who you talk to, they'll have a much different measuring stick on how they measure themselves. One person has to conquer the world. Another person has to save the world. One person has to make lots of money. Another person has to have that relationship. These are all things that are parts of the ego. And the ego wants these things so that it doesn't have to accept or receive the roots of suffering that are within. It's really resistance to life, resistance to who you are, resistance to everything that is here. So as realizations come to you, as more freedom comes to you, as you meditate, as you work with your spiritual guru, as you deeply reflect on the nature of I and who is I, and am I the I, or is it just a bunch of thoughts? As realizations come to you, new gifts will burst forth. New forms of expression of yourself will come through. Another way of saying it is new ways or creative ways of loving life. And that love can move in directions of different people. It can move into the direction of just this place itself, or this reality itself as it is expressing through this form on earth. It can come through creativity. You might create great works of art. You may find a new way of just growing things in your garden. I mean, there could be a million different ways that this love bursts forth. And then, of course, the ego will come up and say, this is my life's purpose. And I might note, okay, I'm going to add something here. The worst way that this bursts forth is that people will do spiritual practice and get some results, and they say, oh, now the entire world has to do what I did in order to get results in their life, spiritually speaking. So I'm going to knock on everyone's door and force them to do what I did. That's one of the worst ways that the spiritual purpose trick can integrate into a spiritual aspirant, and it's the most annoying one. It says, I'm a bit free, so now I'm going to make everybody else be free too. So my point is that as new forms of expression come through you, don't limit yourself just to that. there will be other things that reveal themselves to you, other aspects of yourself. The rainbow has many colors. So don't let the ego attach to what it is you're expressing. If you're expressing love in that moment and it's coming through a certain form of creativity or a certain form of relationship, a certain form of something, you don't have to own it and say, okay, now I'm stuck living this role, because a role is a role. You don't have to be bound by roles. Be bound by authenticity. The truest you that bursts forth in every moment. And you don't have to follow my advice. I'm not saying you do, but one thing you will find is that as you embark upon this spiritual journey, you start to become a bit of a hypocrite, because sometimes you'll say something, hey, this is who I am. This is what I really feel. This is the way I function. This is the way everyone should function. And then, 2 weeks later, you go through another shift and you're like, I retract the previous statement. This is who you should be. So I'm saving you a few retraction letters in the process as you go through your evolution. Because your perspective is always shifting. That's the whole point of this spiritual evolution. We're becoming more and more holistic in our point of view. We're getting more and more of a bird's eye view of who we are. And realizing that the previous person of who we thought we were was very limited. It was based on limitation. It was based on suffering that we did not want to feel. It was based on a preconceived notion of who we are and not truly who we are at the source of ourselves. When the ego gets out of the way, who you are is quite organic, quite in the moment. There are many surprises that will come from inside you that you didn't realize were there. And they're all good. It's not going to be like The Exorcist or something. It's all good stuff. So there's nothing to be afraid of. When you stop running from yourself, running from the energies within that you don't like, fear and depression and shame and boredom, all these different experiences that are moving through you, when you stop resisting them, just be with them, let go of your stories around them, then new parts of yourself will be revealed, and fulfillment and freedom is part of the deal. So if you wish to embark upon a life's purpose, you can do so for a while, but don't be surprised if this purpose changes. And if you notice that you're always searching for purpose, feel what's underneath that. Feel, why are you searching for purpose? What is it? What sensation is driving that thought? And then be with that. There's a good chance suffering is driving it. So I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.
Are you interested in working with a spiritual teacher in a formal setting? Well, perhaps the Wisdom Life School is for you. If you're interested in checking out what the Wisdom Life School is all about, just go to aratima.com.